Hey, we're back. Welcome to Garage Talk. As always, I'm Conrad. Let's go.
I'm Ted. Time to rock and roll.
Hey, Teddy. Today in the garage, we have with us
Alicia Griffin.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Good.
How are we doing?
We're great.
Excited to be here with you guys today.
We're glad
Yeah,
it's the time to come join us.
absolutely. So let's talk about your new venture you got going on here.
Yes, super excited. This will be my first head coaching varsity experience. I've been with Eastbrooks for, a really long time. I was the JV coach for the past 6 years. I did junior high for a couple years. I've been the youth director for 6 or so years. So I have lots of experience, but this is my first head coaching experience at the varsity level.
Well, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
But let's go back, all the way back to when you were a little. Mm-hmm. Did you play sports?
I did.
You did?
I played basketball.
Okay.
I played year-round since I was 10 with AAU and the whole circuit with that. I also played softball and I played volleyball.
Softball?
So, yep.
Second base?
Shortstop.
It was close. She looked like a second baseman. So while you were doing that, who was your coaches?
Well, I'm originally from Michigan,
Okay.
so I you probably won't be very familiar with any of the coaches
Well, I didn't know if
had.
any of them were your dad.
Nope, none.
No?
None were my dad. No, my dad was very active in my training for basketball, but he didn't coach me. Nope.
That was my mistake, Ted. I should have never coached my kids.
Well, I coach my daughter, and it's a lot sometimes.
It is, because they have a lot of trouble distinguishing mom from coach or dad from coach.
Yeah, I also coach AAU out of Fort Wayne with Always 100.
Okay.
And I have coached my daughter the past 3 years. And this coming AAU season will be the first year that I do not coach her. Just feel like it's that time that you just need to go and get some instruction from somebody else. Coach Ashley Tucker has been her junior high coach the past 2 years, and then she has another year of junior high this year, and then she'll be in high school next year. But other than Coach Tucker, nobody else has coached my kid except for me. So it's been a lot.
You know what? For me, Ted, and I don't know about you, but it was a real relief for me to not have to yell at my kid, or I don't want to say yell. Well, for me, it was yelling. But I was like, hey, you know where to be.
Yep.
Do your job. And sometimes there were long car rides home, and I regret it now. I've got a 1-year-old. I'm not going to do that with her.
Yeah, well, and I feel like that's the boundary for me and my daughter is the car ride. Once we leave the floor, it's all out there. Like, we do not talk about it on the car ride home. We don't have discussions about it. Now, when she plays for junior high for Coach Tucker, we obviously talk about it then. But for AAU, we leave it all out on the floor. And luckily for her, she's the hardest one that gets coached during those AAU games. But she definitely hears a lot of yelling.
Well, and that's where more parents need to take that hint. Game's over, leave it alone.
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
For a little while. I mean, maybe bring it up the next day. I remember this, but yeah, I agree. I mean,
Hindsight's always 20/20.
It
Yes.
is. But speaking of AAU, because I know you just got back from Louisville, right?
Yes. Yep.
How'd you guys do down there?
We played in the Run for Roses. My high school team did really well. I coached with another guy, David Goodwell. He used to be at Churubusco. He's with Columbia City now. But we lost one game, I think, the whole time down there.
Nice.
Baseline filled with college coaches ready to watch some good talent. So it's always exciting to see.
Oh yeah, that's speaking of AAU, so you say you're coaching some high school kids in that. How many kids from one team can be on an AAU team?
We
One
keep
high school
10.
team.
One high school team,
high school.
just 3.
So only
Three, and
Okay.
then me as a high school coach, I cannot coach any of my high school
Okay,
girls.
okay.
Sophia Morrison, who played for us last year, she was on an Always 100 team, and even though I wasn't the head coach, I still couldn't coach her. I couldn't even sit on the bench.
Really?
So when she would play, within Always 100, we always sit on each other's benches, help coach, like anything like
Okay.
that, and I would always have to sit in the stands or somewhere else and watch her. So.
Yeah. Where'd you get your coaching bug from?
Just the love for the game.
Okay.
I love the game of basketball. It has opened up so many doors for me. It is also kind of my escape from reality. When things are tough or when something's going on, I go out to my driveway still at 39 years old.
Really?
Yep, it's just,
Wow.
but if anyone knows me, my mind does not stop thinking about the game. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
The love for the game just fuels it all.
So was this always the plan? Was you always going to move into the varsity position?
So I was really hoping that Jeff would stay, and I begged him and begged him and begged him. But when he decided that it was time to step down, I figured this would be the perfect time to step up and see what I can do. So
And
hopefully.
But
You
you're
look-
really getting thrown into the fire because you're going to replace a legendary coach.
Yep.
You had great teams the last few
Mm-hmm.
years. Now, how young are you guys going to be?
Super young. So we lost our entire starting five. Our only returning varsity player who played is Mia Bustos, which she had a phenomenal summer this year for us. Great leader, great floor general. As a post player, you don't really see that a whole lot. Usually comes from your guards, but she's really stepped into a leadership role, which I'm really excited to see from her. The JV girls, I'm excited to see where they can take us and what they can do on the floor at the varsity level. The pace of the game is definitely different, JV from varsity.
Yep.
And then we have some freshmen that really proved themselves this summer and stepped up into roles that I didn't expect them to be ready for. So that's exciting.
Wow. And I've heard the same thing about the boys. They've got some kids that
Yes.
were freshmen this past year that
Yep.
probably going to get some significant minutes.
Yeah, the boys are pretty young too. Thankfully for the boys, they have a couple of this coming year sophomores that did receive some varsity minutes, and
Right.
they are a little bit more experienced. So, but yeah, we're definitely starting from the ground up, working our way again.
And school's getting ready to start, so
Yeah.
what's your basketball schedule look like until October when you can actually start official practice?
Yeah, so
Open gyms?
we'll start open gyms the first week after Labor Day, which I'm really excited to get back in the gym with the girls. They've had all of July off, and then they'll have August off to work with their fall sports. But we'll start that week, and we'll get back at it.
Strength and conditioning.
Yes.
Have they been hitting that all summer?
Yep, all summer, June and July with that, and they work with Coach Adamson and Coach Liddick. So.
Those are a couple
Bigger,
of the best
stronger.
right there.
Bigger, stronger, faster.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So now rebuilding from within, you've worked with the youth programs.
Yep.
So you've had a chance to see what you have coming up soon.
Yes.
What's in the bag?
We've got a lot of talent. We
Okay.
definitely have a lot of talent. I have said the phrase, "Give us 3 years and we'll be back." It's going to take, this next couple of years are going to be tough. And I always tell my girls this past summer, I said, nobody should count us out. We've took all of our games close to the wire, and we've played some tough competition in Yorktown and Delta, and which Delta has some transfers in, which has really helped their program. But we played some tough teams, and we held our own, and I think we can surprise a lot of teams this year. So.
I like that when a coach comes in and says, it's
Yeah.
going to be a tough couple of years, and it's easier for a high school coach to do that. You're in college or
You don't get those couple
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You have a rough first year, you're gone. But
Do you think this this upcoming season you're going to have to really grind out some wins, or do you feel like you've got a number in mind that you want to hit? That you feel that.
Well, I think the competitiveness in me has a number in mind that I want to hit.
Do you want to share?
No.
All right.
But I mean, every game is going to be tough for us. We're going to have to do a really good job of scouting our opponents, having a great game plan coming forward, and then we have to execute it, which I know that the girls are more than capable of doing. And then we have to also be prepared for other teams doing the same thing for us. They're going to execute, and they're going to have a game plan for us. So we have to know how to combat that and what we're going to do, what our best strengths are moving forward. So,
to me, if you're staying competitive within the game, you can learn from some losses.
Yes.
And come back next year better.
Yes, agree.
I like to look at myself as a positive person. I mean, even if negative things are happening, you're going to learn that. You're going to learn from it, and then next year, now you have experience.
Yes, and we have some freshmen and some underclassmen who are going to get some minutes, and so we're definitely going to go through some growing pains, but they're going to be learning lessons that we take and we move forward each game. I talked with our upperclassmen, and we're going to start fall break with 2-a-days, and we're going to spend some time on the track before we go into practice in the evening, and then we're going to be watching game film. We'll probably do it at my house because I like to open up my house to the girls, but we're going to do game film nights every single week where we just look at what we do and how we can fix our mistakes and moving forward so we don't keep making them game in, game out. And I think that'll help build some game IQ. I think if you were to ask the girls coming off of this summer what would be my biggest complaint about them, they're like, well, coach, you always yell about just lack of IQ. And I'm like, you're right, and we're going to fix that.
Basketball IQ is different.
It is.
It's really different. You gotta have a coach on the floor.
Yes. Yep.
It's out there playing.
Yep.
You gotta have that one person out there.
Yes, and Mia Bustos has really filled that role well for us this summer, and I look for her to continue to fill that role. I don't think coming into summer she was very comfortable with having that leadership role, but she's grown a lot already, and she has a whole bunch of underclassmen looking up to her, so she definitely will be setting the tone for us.
It sounds like they're going to be tough, Ted, because if they come in there conditioned, they're not going to get beat because they're out of shape.
Right.
Yep.
So the other part can come later in the season when they need it to, especially during sectional time.
Yeah, well, and my biggest thing for the girls is pace. We have to play with a high pace, and we have to create turnovers. And so we have to be in the best shape to be able to play at the speed that I want us to play at. So we're going to get there.
Okay.
With her energy, I think there's no problem there.
I think she could still play.
I do too.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I do. But I do. I'm sure you look at your schedule. Let's go Grant County. Who you think's probably gonna be one of the top teams in Grant County this year?
Well, outside of Marion, because we don't play Marion, Miss Senwell is going to be tough with J.C. Crick coming back. She's a great leader for them. She had a phenomenal sectional game. Even playing hurt, she did really well. In conference, Alexandria is going to be really tough. Jackie Hosier, who just committed to play at University of Vermont, is going to be tough.
Relation to Mickey?
Yep, it's his daughter.
That's what I figured.
Yep, she just committed this past week to play at the University of Vermont. Wow. So, and that, I mean, D1, and we played them this summer, and she plays fast.
Really?
So, yes.
Yeah, because that was my next question. What's the conference look like?
Yeah, well, and Oak Hill will be tough.
Yep.
Oak Hill will be tough coming back, too.
Frankton's always good.
Yes, Frankton. They play, I mean, you're going to play defense for a minute and a half every time.
Yep. And this is a big Mrs. Senewall thing over here, but we'll see if it's Eastbrook too. How hard is it to win at Frankton?
Oh, so hard. I'll never forget the Sophia Morrison buzzer beater that we got at Frankton. And when we won, that was like the greatest feeling ever. I remember coming on the court and just like screaming.
That's
Because the fans are pretty tough too.
Yes. Yep.
The fans are really tough.
Yeah, for sure.
They live. Well, this is just how I feel. They live for Mrs. Sinawal to come in there and them just beat us, and they're sore winners.
Yes. Well, the conference rivalries between
Thank
all
you.
the schools have
Oh.
something.
Uh-huh.
There's always something between
Yeah.
everybody. So, yeah, our conference will be tough this year for sure.
Well, and that's like, I think, I think Elwood's moving in the right direction too.
Yes.
All sports, I mean, with that new AD they have over there, they're doing, I'm really amazed at how their community has got behind that school
Yes.
right now.
And their gym looks phenomenal.
Yeah, weight room and.
Van Skyhawks he's worked his butt off over there. And
Yeah.
I like that kind of rah, get behind us kind of person.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's like, speaking of ADs, I'm still waiting to get Nate scheduled over here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
Nate
get on
Brown
him.
Yeah.
here.
I'll get on him.
It's hard to get a hold of him in the summer, but
Yes. And he also helps with the football team.
Yeah.
He's an assistant coach there, so his schedule is
Speaking-
definitely busy.
Going back and speaking of Frankton fans, Tipton fans.
Oh.
Tipton fans.
Tipton has kind of a sore spot for us since our sectional game
Yeah.
that we played against them at Blackford. Not this past year, but 2 years ago.
Yep.
And yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it was the most amusing thing I've ever seen, because seeing people get that worked up, it's like these kids got to learn to go through adversity. Those parents over there were going through it with them, and they were letting it show
Yeah.
a little too much.
Well, and I think that's the hardest part as a parent is just making that break, because we don't want to see our kids hurt, and we don't want to see our
Yeah.
kids' feelings get crushed. And so sometimes we come in a little bit overbearing, and we have to take a step back and remember our kids have to go through it. They have to do it, and we're back here as a support system, but your kids have to go through it on their own. Otherwise, you don't create warriors that way.
no, you don't, and that's what really perturbs me a lot of times. You got a kid on the floor, and every time they look up the stands at mom or dad, am I getting yelled at or
Or they're taking the coaching.
focus? We're out here.
Yep. Well, and that's tough for me for sure.
I
Because
know,
as a
I know.
coach, I'm like yelling at, and I don't just yell at my kid, I'm yelling at all the kids.
Yes.
Like, you need to be here, you need to be here. And I'm like, okay, I'm just a parent, but it's also
Yeah.
my program. And,
Right, so-
and it wasn't my program last season, but I was a coach in the program, and I knew what Coach Liddick had wanted. And so I'd be coaching from the stands, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop. You need to stop. But
Been there,
it's
done
tough.
that.
My oldest daughter got hurt in the Grant 4 this past season, and I remember sitting there, and I'm like, okay, you're not going to go out there. You're not going to go out there. And then she was like, I'm like, she's not getting up, and she needs to be getting up. So I'm like, I'm going out there, and
You
as
gotta
soon
go,
as I got out there, I picked her up, and I said, we do not lay on the floor.
I like that. No.
I used to be the same way. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're all right. It
Yep,
ain't
and I'm like,
bleeding.
we're taping it up, and you're playing the next game. It's a championship.
That's
It builds character.
Yes.
Being able to fight through, your mind
Yes.
telling you can't, but you pushing yourself forward.
That mental toughness.
Yes.
Yep.
And we're going to find a whole lot of that on the track this fall.
So we're running.
We're running.
We're
Yep,
running.
we're 2 days.
2 days.
I know, but
Man.
Yep.
nothing.
Where our
nothing
first
like
practice
running.
is going to be on the track, and then we'll come back in the evening for on-court practice.
That's awesome.
We're just going to be in shape.
They're
Find
gonna
some
have-
mental toughness.
They're gonna have
Yep.
a set of lungs on them.
Yes, they will.
Yep.
My other thing with being in shape is you don't find the mental lapses when you're in shape. You grit through those. When you're tired, your mind gets to you too quickly.
Yep.
So we're gonna make sure we're tough.
Have you read a lot of coaching books?
I've read a handful, but not
'Cause
as
I
much
feel
as
like
I
you-
probably should.
I feel like you have a lot of insight to what you're saying. I mean, because it's true.
I've coached under some and played under some great coaches. My senior year in high school, we were a Final Four team in Michigan. He was a great coach, did good things for the program. We built it from the ground up. We were a school that never got to 500 every year, and we made it by my senior year. We made it to the Final Four, which we're Class B, which would be like a 3A.
Okay.
So we weren't a small school by any means. And now they've won state championships, and they
Really?
had a Miss Basketball runner-up this year. And so like the program, has just kept up. And then I played for Jody Martinez at Bethel University, which he was at Taylor for a while as well. Learned a lot from him about how to be mentally tough. He was a coach that you had to be mentally tough to be able to grit out some of those practices, some of those talks, and some of those lectures. So I definitely learned there. And then after college, I was an assistant coach at Davenport University in Michigan, under Mark Young's, he's a phenomenal basketball mind. Situation plays, like he's just phenomenal. And then I moved down here and got to be under Coach Liddick. And you just have to be mentally tough to be successful.
You do. Not just in sports, but in life.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's your bigger job right there, isn't it? You're coaching life to these kids.
Yes, absolutely.
Churning out good human beings.
Yes.
Now, I do have a question though. So, as a varsity coach now, you have a elementary school parent come up to you and say, "Man, my daughter really wants to play." What are a couple of things you're going to suggest to that parent that their child needs to do?
Well, get in the gym.
Well,
That's the start, right? So I've been doing the youth program for a while now. We always do kindergarten through second grade, and we just work on the fundamentals, the skills, dribbling, passing, understanding how to play defense. I never let my own kids shoot at a regular basket or very far from a regular basket until they could shoot correctly.
Right.
My oldest, who played for Coach Tucker, she begged to shoot three-pointers. And we were doing a workout, and she didn't start shooting three-pointers until this year. And I said, fine. But the number of, we go for makes for everything. I said, the number of makes doesn't change. Nothing changes. But you will make them, and we'll do it the whole time then, if that's what you want to do. And so since then, she was like, okay, Mom, you were right. But it's all about getting the repetitions the right way when you're young. And then 3rd through 5th grade, they get in the Delta League. We do some clinics, still very fundamental, working with the coaches on instructing what matters the most. Wins and losses don't matter.
Exactly.
They really don't.
Exactly.
And that's tough because I coached my kids when they were in 3rd grade and 4th grade and 5th grade, and you want to win them all.
Right.
But the wins and losses don't matter. And then this 6th, 7th, 8th, now we're going to start working on more strategy, more zone sets, more plays, and understanding the game a little bit better. So.
Oh, okay. Speaking of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, with Coach Tucker, we're going to let Conrad share his story, what he thinks about junior high.
Go for it.
I think junior high is the bottleneck for sports because so many, I've said this quite often, so many kids in junior high, every sport is right after it, but it's not that way in high school.
Yep.
So sometimes your best basketball player ends up playing soccer or volleyball or something else and doesn't play basketball. I feel like there's some kids that don't make the team in middle school, and then when they hit their sophomore year, they're 6'4".
Yeah.
And nobody's worked with them, and now nobody wants to work with them because now there's a lot of catch-up. I have a tough time with middle school sports because so many people just invest in those kids when they're in 7th and 8th grade. And I'm like, man, and I'm one of them. I didn't grow another inch from 8th grade. I've been 5'7" since 8th grade. I feel like the middle school has people get told, hey, you're going to be shooting guard or quarterback or, and you're just labeled this from middle school on, and it just holds back from other kids once they get to high school.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I don't really know if it's thankfully, but at Eastbrook, we struggle with numbers. So we don't make cuts.
Right.
Everyone's on the team. Everyone may not get the certain amount of minutes, but they're getting practice time, and maybe they can close those gaps during that practice time, and maybe they can get in the fourth quarter if the game isn't as tight and things like that. So we don't really make cuts at all in middle school. So thankfully for that. And I always think back, I believe it was Courtney Haynes didn't start playing until middle school, and she ended up on a basketball scholarship to Indiana University of South Bend by her senior year. So you just don't know.
That's and the same thing. You don't know. Probably quite a few of them, but there's some you might not know that they're really out there putting work in this summer at home.
Yes.
Or, that's what I tell the boys I coach. I'm like, somebody's working harder than you somewhere.
Yeah.
You think you're all this, but and just like you were talking about 3-pointers a minute ago, you come down there before you start practice, they're all out there just shooting from half court or three. I'm like,
By the logo.
I'm like, go up there and make some easy ones first, and scoot back, see if that works. But then something else you also said is repetition.
Repetition the
do
right
it the
way.
same way. Yeah, it's got to be
Yep.
instead of I'm gonna try it this way this time or this time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and that's what's really exciting about our team is even though we're not playing in July collectively as a group, they're getting together in
That's
groups.
good.
And they're doing workouts together, and they're in the gym together. They're very hungry, and almost to prove people wrong. I think a lot of people think that we lost so much that we're not going to be very successful this year, but we kind of have a chip on our shoulder.
Yep.
And we're going to come into every game with a chip on our shoulder ready to prove something. So the girls are excited about that.
Well, and believe me, we are rooting for you that you're going to shock some people.
Yes.
We really are.
I really feel like we will.
We bleed red and white, but anybody else in the county, as long as they're still going, we're right there. I mean, that's like Conrad and I both. If you guys were on the radio or Action Sports Network, then we're flipping it on. We're listening.
Yep.
My better half and I went to that tough lapel game.
Oh, this year. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought we had it.
Yeah.
We just didn't. We didn't have that fourth quarter that we needed.
Yep.
We had the whole game except for that last part of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was
tough.
it was a tough game. How are schools like Lapel constantly good?
That's tough because I feel like Lapel maybe got some transfers in from some bigger schools. I think when you're surrounded by really big schools that are very
and they're taking them in.
Because some of these bigger schools with state finals on their record and like Noblesville. Well, I might not play my freshman year at Noblesville, but I know if I transfer to over here, I can play right away. And so I think that's a lot of some of that mindset, and you're getting some quality kids that way.
Yep.
I'm anxious to see if the IHSAA passes the law about the one transfer rule. I think it's going to make a really big difference in some of the, maybe not so much here, but in the bigger areas like Indianapolis and Fort Wayne. It'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, because it's turning into a sneaking transfer portal, just like college.
And it's tough.
It is.
It's tough as a coach because you feel like, well, man, I just can't do a whole lot because then they might transfer, and you don't want to lose your girls.
Exactly.
So,
but some Eastbrook history here. Coach Tucker probably knows. Was it 84 or 85 when you guys went to the state finals?
I believe it was
girls
85.
basketball team. Was it 85?
I think it was 85 because that was the year I was born. And I remember always talking with Coach Zent because she was a year, she was in 8th grade when they went to the state finals.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that was the year after I was born, or that was the year I was born, or something like that. So I think it was 85, but I could be very wrong.
And that was single class basketball too.
Yep.
That's a tough road
Yes.
when it's like that.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is, very. Should we put her on the spot with our halftime question?
Go ahead.
We love to do this to basketball
Yeah.
coaches.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
It's my absolute favorite question to ask.
Okay.
But Ted, go ahead.
All right. Second quarter, you guys, you're down 10. Mm-hmm. You make some changes.
Personnel changes.
Oh, okay.
They come in, they make a run. They've got it down to you're tied at halftime or you're up a bucket.
Okay.
Who's starting the second half?
Well, I always roll with who's given us the most.
Okay.
Now, listen,
Which
me and
is
Ted.
always kind of tough.
Yeah.
And we've had some this year, last year, we've had some locker room discussions, but I think that whoever get put on the biggest run, especially at the end of the half like that, you
Right.
roll with what gave you the most, and then
Okay.
you give, whoever had to sub out or whatever, you give them another go.
Yep.
It's not like they're not going to play, but
Right.
Yeah.
as you want to come out the second half, off to a good start. So
That's the way I look at it, but we've had different answers from
We have
well, I also
many
think you have to
very-
know the player too.
Yeah, true,
Like
yes.
the player that you're taking out or subbing,
Exactly.
putting her on the bench. Like, is she going to be able to mentally handle that
Yep,
and then be
true.
able to perform the rest of the game? Because
Yeah.
if she's not going to,
Yep.
then you have to take like what's in the best interest.
Right. Yeah, we've had a couple coaches mention that too. So
Yeah.
it's, what's their emotions going to be like if
Yep.
they
Because you don't want to
start.
especially if she's a starter, you don't want to
Yeah.
lose her for the whole game.
Yeah, but I feel like that's where you got to mentally prepare these young people. Hey, because you go to work and you're not performing, they're going to replace you.
Oh yeah.
Now what are you going to
Absolutely.
do?
Absolutely.
They're not worrying about mental health is such a big issue
Yep.
in education and sports these days. I don't know what else we do to prepare these kids for real life.
Yeah. Well, I think who you surround yourself with on your coaching staff makes a huge difference on the mental health of your players. Because, there was some situations this summer that I was tough on them. I'm kind of a screamer. And so, they got it. But then my assistant coaches came up right behind them and be like, hey, all you have to do is fix this and this and this, or you got this next play, or whatever. So they got the tough love, but then somebody
I
right
see.
behind them comes in and has,
Yeah.
a little conversation just to pick their spirits back up. But
Now,
Yeah.
have you ever had tough love from a coach?
have I
Coming
had?
to you, say,
Oh,
hey,
yes.
coach.
Oh, players coming to me saying,
an assistant coach or coming to you and like,
not
maybe
yet.
you were a little bit too hard on.
not yet.
Well, then that means you weren't too hard.
Well, there
You're
was
just the right amount of.
it was funny because I had a pool party for the girls at the end of our summer at my house, and the freshmen were like, man, coach, you're scary. And I'm like, I'm scary? What? But there was one tournament up at Central Noble this year that I stood up and I was seeing stars because I was screaming so much. And I'm like, whew, all right, I got it.
I think
But
it's.
you have to know that they're going to respond to it.
Well,
And,
yeah.
and it was directed at my freshmen, and they went out and they responded and fixed it, and that's fun to coach.
Right, yes, yep, that's,
I always explain it as I'm not angry. I'm just a passionate coach. I
I know I was
care.
pretty angry then.
I care too much.
Yeah, well, I care a lot.
Yeah,
And I
see?
care about the girls. Like, I
Yes.
always tell
Yeah.
the girls, I said, I am not going to let you go out there and not show your best.
Yep.
That's not fair to you. It's not fair to your team. It's not fair to anybody who put in the work to prep you for you not to give your best. So I'm going to make sure that you're giving your best all the time.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to hear it from me.
Yep.
So
Have
Love
them
it.
prepared,
I love
coach.
it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
I think you will.
I do too. I think they made a good hire over there.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
For what we've learned today.
Yeah. So where do you list the schools in the county?
Oh, gosh, don't do that to me.
Where do you list them? She looks like she's not afraid to say it.
Well, I have a really hard time with Marion just because we don't play them. And so I don't really keep up to date with them. But outside of Marion, with JC coming back, I think we got a slight edge to them. I think county schools, I'm going to give it to us.
Yeah.
Us over everyone, and then I see Miss Sinwell right underneath them, or us right underneath us. I'm anxious to see how Blackford comes out. They gave us a tough game at the JV level this past year. They're a very physical team, but they'll also have a new coach as well. So, and then you have Madison Grant as well, and Oak Hill, Oak Hill's gonna be tough. Oak Hill's gonna be really tough.
That's scary over there from the boys' side too.
Oh, yes. Well, and you have those two freshmen that played significant minutes, and they'll be another year older, sophomores, and you have Trexler that does some big things for them. So Oak Hill will probably take the cake for county, but I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have a great game plan for whatever game we go in, and I'm optimistic about every game that we have on our schedule.
It's going to be a fun season to watch.
She's optimistically confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I know how hard my girls have been working, so
That's
it gives me confidence as a coach,
Yeah.
and to know that we don't have anything on our schedule in July and they're still in the gym grinding. So, and pushing each other, calling each other up and be like, hey, let's go to the gym here.
Yep.
Let's go to the gym here. So it's going to be fun.
See, that's harder between boys and girls.
There's a huge difference between boys and girls when you're coaching.
I've got a stepson that'll be a sophomore, and it's like, these boys want to stay up all night playing video games. I'm like, okay, what time's weights start in the morning?
Yeah.
Are you going to be at weights, or are you going to be too tired because you guys were up all night?
Yes. Well, I think
know some girls play games.
I think with girls, it's more the social.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
we
the
want to go
social
to our
media.
friends and have
Yeah.
sleepovers, and so.
Do they still do that?
Oh yeah.
Because I know my girls, they're on social
not
media
high
a lot.
schoolers, but-
And they FaceTime
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that's why I feel like an old man, because I still answer the phone and want to put it to my ear and they're talking like that.
Well, I try texting on my watch and get things messed up all the time. So.
Yeah, she apologized to me the other night. Sorry, I was just trying to use my watch. But yeah, that's I don't know. We're excited for you guys.
Yeah.
We really are. But I think before we go,
Yeah.
because we actually from the stats I've looked at on our page, we're like 50-50 men and women on our listenership. And but some of the guys out there might want to know who your husband.
So my husband is Trevor Griffin, played at Pendleton Heights, was on the 2000 Final Four team, which Joe Buck was the coach of that team.
Okay.
Played AAU with Zach Randolph.
Zach Randolph.
Yeah, so.
And then you got a little story about Tom Izzo, right?
Yeah, so my husband's dad coached Tom Izzo at Northern Michigan.
Wow.
So, yeah,
That is crazy.
very fun.
That is crazy.
That's awesome.
Coach, thank you so much
Yep.
for taking
Absolutely.
the time today to come into the hot garage and hang out. You smiled the whole time, so I mean,
Hey, that's why I tell my girls,
Yeah.
I'm a very smiling girl. Like, I'm not.
make sure they watch this episode and they'll know.
Yes,
They'll be like,
absolutely.
holy crap, Coach, she really believes in us.
Yes, I'm really excited for season.
Awesome.
We wish you luck.
I appreciate
so
it.
much for coming on. We'll see you throughout the season, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. All right, thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Welcome.